While you're introing, I'm getting Skype credit.
Hey, Mike, go.
All right, welcome to another episode of Bruins Beat, brought to you by CLNS Radio. I'm Mike with Joe and Jason, as always, and it's going to be a great episode this week. We're very excited to be with you guys this week, even though the Bruins finally got off a nice W for once, Joe. Can you believe it? It's been a long time coming since they've had a W.
Yeah, especially with Dobie playing that and all the Tuukka Rask haters coming out of the woodwork again. But we'll get into that, I'm sure, with Dave.
No, we definitely will. But, Joe, can I just say also first state that the event that you put on, Sportspalooza, was an absolute blast, and I had a great time, and it was great meeting you fine gentlemen.
Yeah, it was great. And I was telling everybody you brought your computer in. It was on 3 flatbed trucks.
Yeah.
The floppy disk was awesome. I'm pretty sure that was probably one of the first new computers ever made. So that was good. No, I had a great time. Nice meeting you and Jace for the first time. Meeting Mark Allred, meeting Jimmy Murphy. He's a cool cat. So, met a lot of good people. That was probably, Mike, one of our best events, honestly, in the 8 years we've done it. So really happy.
That's good to hear. I'm glad. Yeah, I was glad that everyone got to meet all you guys, and it was just great. But let's get back to the Bruins for a minute. Yeah, as you were saying, the Tuukka haters are out in full force. Oh, baby.
Character assassination now. It's like, I don't know, we can get into it a little bit more, but I don't know if I posted too on Stanley Cup of Chat, wrote a good article about the Tuukka haters and why they hate him, and most of their reasoning is flawed. The 2013 Cup final.
You guys ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to make the call right now.
I hope he's still there. All right, we'll just go into it and you tell us when he's on. So, talking about Tuukka, he basically broke down what happened those last 17 seconds. I think it was a deflected shot, and Jimmy, we call it Johnny Boychuk, blew his coverage on the winning goal. And then, how many goals he let up against Pittsburgh the series before? 2. With Malkin and Crosby and Kunitz, and they were I think they had James Neal then too. And everybody forgets that, right? It's amazing.
Do you know what I think it is? Is exactly what you said last week.
Ready,
the
guys?
run that Tim Thomas went on is just the run that Tim Thomas went on was the one that
Hey, is this Dave?
Yes, this is Dave.
Dave, this is Jason from Bruins Beat. Sorry for the wait.
Dave,
we were having some
it's
trouble
Mike.
with my Skype.
No problem, Jason.
I got Mike and Joe along with me. We have some
Dave,
questions
how's it
to
going?
ask you. Thank you for
I'm
joining
Mike.
our show.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. Dave, I have Joe and Jason as also with us. Thanks for joining us, and very excited about you joining us. And as we said, we've been talking about it all week, so we're very happy that you were able to join us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
How you doing, Dave? Joe Gill here. Nice to meet you.
You too, Joe.
Okay.
Things are good.
All right,
How's
so
things
before
in
we start-
Boston?
What's that?
But things in Boston
How
are
are
on
things
edge
going
right
in
now,
Boston?
Dave.
No, definitely on edge for sure.
Yeah. Not going great, Dave. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are a little rocky right now, Dave, in Boston right now.
Sports-wise?
Yeah, sports-wise. You think you can talk us off the ledge? The Bruins are 1-4 in their last 5 games. Obviously, there's some goaltending controversy, I guess you could say. But I just want to ask you flat out, straight up, will the Boston Bruins make the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Wow. You got to ask me that one about April 8th or 9th. It's you know what? It's just when one of the teams seem to think that they're going to take charge, they take a step back. And unfortunately for Boston, the last few years, it seems to be they're right there until the last few days, and they don't make it. So there's no reason why they don't. There's no reason why the Islanders don't. There's no reason why the Leafs don't. And really, there's no reason why Tampa doesn't. But unfortunately, 2 of those teams aren't going to make it. And at this point, whoever decides to take it upon themselves to win the games, they're the team that's going to get in. I mean, it sounds simple, but that's really the way it's going to be. You look at the Islanders losing to Nashville right now, and Chicago is beating Tampa right now, and Carolina is a team that's crept out of nowhere that they're beating Detroit. If they beat the Red Wings these 2 games, meaning win the makeup games, or the games in hand, I should say, now we've got to put Carolina in that mix, where 2 weeks ago you would have said there's no way. So somebody has to win the games. Right now it's the Carolina Hurricanes, who are 7-0-3-10. and they've crept back into the discussion. And if the Bruins play the way they can, they've got 6 of 7 games at home. The one game is in Chicago, which they've usually had pretty, as I recall, pretty good games against the Blackhawks. They did lose the 1-0 game at home to the Hawks this year, but with 6 of 7 at home, there's no reason why the Boston Bruins can't say, you know what, we can do this. We're home games, win the games, and get in the playoffs. They've got the team to do it. But we're not playing the games, and I can understand where you're sitting here biting everybody's fingernails off thinking, are we going to get in? It's going to come down to the final weekend within possibly 4 teams.
We're used to that here, right, Mike and Jason, the last 3 years, the last game of the season?
Yeah, we're totally used to that. But Dave, let me just ask you, if they do get in, and say they make the wild card, or they get in, say in their division, they pass the Leafs or whatever, do you think they can do some damage in the playoffs, or do you think they're just be getting into the playoffs and kind of be one and done?
No, I think any of the teams we talked about, I think the Bruins have got the talent. If Tuukka Rask plays at the level that he's capable of, there's no reason that he can't win games on his own in the playoffs. And they've got the scoring, they've got the depth up front in the scoring, and they're going to have to play at the top of their game. You get into the playoffs, if you're going to be successful, you have to have that third line scoring that has been a little inconsistent for the Bruins this year. You've got to have your depth defenseman playing 12 minutes a night and playing solid minutes, not necessarily being offensive, but making sure that they're not giving up anything. And you have to have your goaltender playing well. And they're more than capable of doing that with the teams in the Atlantic Division. Ottawa, Montreal, Boston, Toronto, if Tampa Bay gets there, all of those teams are capable of winning games if they play at the top of their game. They don't have the luxury that maybe the Washington or Pittsburgh or Chicago's, or even the way Columbus has been playing, but even Columbus has to play at their best all the time. So the Atlantic doesn't have the luxury of being able to ride 1 or 2 players for a bit, and that's where the Atlantic Division is going to be a battle, because the teams are so evenly matched. I don't really say the Montreal Canadiens are that much better than any of the teams in the Atlantic, and even with the Rangers, it looks like they're going to be in the Atlantic in the playoffs. I don't think the Rangers are that much better than any of the teams in the Atlantic. So, yes, the Bruins can definitely win a series, and yes, the Bruins can come out of the Atlantic. I mean, they've proven it. They've beaten good teams this year, but they're going to have to play at their best every game, and that's usually the deciding factor in a 7-game series. Is the team that has the consistency and plays at the highest level and is able to sustain it is the team that's going to win. So it's going to be a challenge for anybody in the Atlantic to have a deep playoff run, but they're in the Atlantic. Bruins are in the Atlantic, and that's probably an advantage to all the teams in there.
Yeah, luckily, because if they were in the Metro, I think they would have been eliminated sometime in December. So just talking about Tuukka Rask, Dave, I don't know if you heard about he gets a lot of heat here in Boston, believe it or not. I think it's probably about a 50-50 split, pro and honestly hate for Tuukka Rask, to be honest with you, which I can't understand at all. So what do you think the criticism is fair about his injury or sickness that he's been going through? We had the Senators game last year. He didn't make it. He couldn't make it because of sickness. The Islanders game this past year because of low body injury. And people bring up the Olympics for Team Finland, too. Do you feel that he gets unfair criticism, and a lot of people still blame him for Game 6 versus the Blackhawks in 13?
I think it's difficult to blame someone if there's an injury or an illness. And I always used to think, wow, how do you miss a game because of the flu? And I had one opportunity to play all 84 games when I was with the Bruins in the 90s, and I missed one game because of the flu, and I could barely get out of bed. So if you're sick, you're sick. And if you're injured, you're injured. And I've never played with a player or even met a player, especially a hockey player, who would not come out injured to play in the biggest game of the year. And I don't think Tuukka Rask is any different than that. He seems to, from what I've seen of him externally, he seems to have a pretty good mental makeup in big games, and unfortunately, it is, and it's tough that he can't run and hide from it. But there have been big games that he's not been available for, whether it be illness or injury. But I would never question a player's, ability to play because of, well, if he says he's injured, the team says he's injured, then he's injured. And if there was an issue, I think the Bruins would have dealt with it and probably moved Tuukka Rask, because nobody wants to have a player on the team that they can't rely on in big games. And that's, I would say, probably the telltale sign is the Boston Bruins still have faith in him, and he's still there. Otherwise, they would have moved him. And a lot of teams don't like guys who are injured. A lot of players will come along and, man, the guy's got an injury history, and you avoid him. But I don't think that's the case with Tuukka Rask. And it's unfair that he gets it, but it's today's pro sports, and people are passionate about the game, and they think, oh, yeah, I'm sick too, but I still went to work. Well, it's a little different, Twin. It's a little different. He was a little sick. I'm sure he would go to work too, but it's a tough one, and it's happened. When it happens consistently, of course, everybody's going to question it.
Well, Dave, I have a hard time typing at my desk with a runny nose, so I think Jason's got a question next for you, Dave.
I'm going to play the what-if game with this next question. If the Bruins don't make the playoffs, what do you see happening specifically with the upper management core?
Wow, that's a good one. What if the Bruins don't make the playoffs? Yeah, that's a good one, because this will be 3 straight years, and I think the look internally is going to have to be there. Moving Claude Julien out in mid-season, bringing in Bruce Cassidy might give the upper management a little bit of time to say, you know what, we need our coach to have a full season. He needs a training camp. He needs to put his mark on this team. Difficult thing to do halfway through a year. That might be a fallback. The parity in the league is so close that it comes down to which teams can sustain or not go on the 4 or 5 game losing streaks. I don't think that the upper management of the Bruins is going to collapse and be changed if they don't make the playoffs, because they've been right there every year. And with bringing in a new coach, and Claude Julien was there a long time, and now Bruce Cassidy needs to put his mark on the team, and you can't do that in a couple of months. So saying that, I don't see changes in upper management. There'll be a lot of frustration with the ownership group and everybody. Everybody will be frustrated, but they'll be as frustrated as 16 other teams out there who didn't make the playoffs. And it doesn't mean that the Bruins are a bad team. It means that they were 1 or 2 wins shy. Does that maybe they're a couple of shootouts shy? And it's such a tight league that I don't see a hasty decision being made. I think it will start fresh for the Bruce Cassidy's era next year and move on from there.
So, this is a follow-up for me really quickly, because I really liked your answer. So, do you think the Bruce Cassidy move was something that probably saved Cam Neely's job in the end?
I think that'll be determined again in a short amount of time, or maybe a year or two, if the right coach, if the Boston Bruins can turn it around, if Bruce can get this team with the right players to turn it around and have a good run, get into the playoffs, then yes, everything will be fine. But I still think that is yet to be determined. I think for Cam Neely and Don Sweeney, their face on the team is going to be Bruce Cassidy. It's now their team. Claude Julien had the team a long time and was here before Don, and Cam wasn't in the same position when Claude started, so or didn't have the same strength of position. So really, I think it's going to come in the next few years and see how it plays out when they brought in their own coach. They'll have the opportunity to have some drafts, to pick up some free agents, to clean out some contracts, which they've done in the past, and really develop their own team from what Peter Chiarelli had done in the past with Claude. So now it's their time. We'll see how it goes in the next few years. So I still think there's a few years to really answer those questions, and that may not be what Bruins fans want, but it's not. Nothing's a quick fix, and general managers, coaches, presidents need time. And usually it's 3 to 5 years to see how their decisions are panning out, how their drafts are panning out, and to see if they can sustain that. And if they can't in that time, then you'll see changes made.
So obviously, I think one of Sweeney's best moves so far has been re-signing Brad Marchand. And obviously he's cooled off a little bit in the past few games, but he's been up there in points with Sidney Crosby and McDavid and Patrick Kane. He's part of the MVP conversation. What do you think of Marchand's game this year, and what do you think of Marchand as a player?
Well, I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. not, the scoring wise, the way he plays, the way he has come into the league, from playing in the American League to moving into the National Hockey League and developing his skills. He wasn't a player, you kind of call them silver spooners, who come in with, they're gifted. They're going to be the stars, and everything just goes their way, and they become the stars. And they come in as a star and they leave as a star. Well, that's not Brad Marchand. He's not the silver spooner. He's a guy who had to work for everything he's got and continue to prove how good he is and that he can play at the next level. He's done that. He did it in the World Cup of Hockey to prove that he can play in Team Canada. He was a star there with a game-winning, tournament-winning goal. Now he's proving in the National Hockey League that he's a star. And no question, people are I put him in the Hart Trophy candidate because the Hart Trophy is the most valuable player to your team. And he, in the last month, proved how valuable he is to the Boston Bruins. And all of a sudden he stops scoring and the team starts losing. He starts scoring again, will the team start winning? And that's what the Hart Trophy is all about. It's not the best player in the league. It's the most valuable to your team. And he has proven that he's as valuable to the Boston Bruins as any star player is to their team. And that's why he should be in the conversation. I'm upset that he dropped off a little in the scoring because I would have loved to have seen him stay up there. Like I said on the NHL Network, it'd be fantastic to see a player who has come from where he's come from, being an American League guy and working way through, to get accolades, to be nominated for a Hart Trophy and possibly even win the Art Ross, which he was battling for. And I think if he gets hot, he could still push back into that race.
Right, especially because he's competing with all number one picks. I mean, you look at Patrick Kane, number one overall, McDavid, number one overall, and Sidney Crosby, number one overall. I thought it was just a great story for Marchand to be even discussed with those names.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And he is not that the other guys worked just as hard. Trust me, they worked just as hard, but they came in at that higher echelon, being a top pick. And Brad Marchand has worked his way over the course of his career to get to where he is. I mean, coming in from a player that everybody wanted to whack with their stick to they still want to whack him, but you have to respect him because he can put up 35 to 40 goals, and he's a point-a-game guy.
So Dave, we got one more quick question for you before we let you go. I know you played in the '90s. You played with the Bruins. You probably played with maybe the Lyndon Byers, the Bruce Shoebottoms, the Jay Millers of the day. How do you feel about fighting in today's game that has kind of almost become extinct? And what do you think removing from the game may cause to for stick work and things like that?
Well, I think the trend of the game is going in the right direction. I'm a proponent of removing the staged fighting in the game, and I think that was getting to a point where it was almost a sideshow. You were waiting and being in the media for the last 15 years. You're this is the big bout's going to take place, and that's not what the game was about. And I mean, I played in those days. The guys you mentioned, I played with all of them. I was drafted with LB and with the Bruins back in '82, and played with Jay and played with Bruce Shoebottom Jr. and also with Bruce when we were with the Maine Mariners together. And there were plenty of times where a fight was needed in the game because the game was getting out of hand. But it was more. I mean, I also played with Cam Neely, who was scoring 50 goals and beating the crap out of everybody.
It's pretty good.
That's where I don't think fighting is going to leave the game because. But the stage fighting needed to leave the game. The game's too fast. We're trying to sell the game to young people, to parents with children. My children went through the minor hockey system, and I've seen concussions and injuries to children playing that are accidental. And fighting is something that happens in a game, and it happens in hockey because usually two guys are battling for something. They get frustrated. You drop your gloves, or someone sticks someone, and it's like, you know what? I'm not going to take that, and I'm going to get my retribution on you and say, hey, let's go, let's drop the gloves, and away you go. That to me is that's part of the game. It's always been part of the game. But the stage fighting, the big heavyweight bouts that we're not seeing, that really had nothing to do with the flow of the game or the score of the game. It was more of an entertainment value for fans. I'm happy to see that gone. The game's just too fast for it, but. Hey, I'm okay with the guys you want to drop your gloves and go. There was nothing better than seeing guys like Wendell Clark and a Rick Tocchet or Cam, and these guys, Terry O'Reilly, and you're battling, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I didn't like the elbow you just put up into my chin, and away you go. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't think it's ever going to leave the game, and I don't think it necessarily has to leave the game because you're skating around with a stick in your hand. And I'd much rather see the guys drop the gloves than turn around and whack each other with a stick. And we've seen some terrible stick accidents. Yep. I mean, I think Marty McSorley was probably one of the worst we've seen on Donald Brashear. And those things, awful. Those things aren't necessary. But I'd much rather see two guys drop the gloves and go at it in the course of a battle in the game or something that happened in the game, not necessarily about to see who's.
So you don't like the fights that happen like. You don't like the fights that are like, oh, we're down 3-0, so I might as well just drop the gloves.
No, I mean that to me. Well, unless there's a reason you're doing it, just for if there's a reason in the game where you were played against this guy the whole game and they're late in the game, and you know what, I'm tired of you, with the sticks or the elbows. Let's go, and that to me is that's fine, but. To send the guys out there to fight at the end of the game because you're down 3-0. Well, maybe you need to get better players so you're not down 3-0. Maybe your team needed to work harder. And I always say you need to look in the mirror and look at yourself before you point to the other guy and say, "Well, you're beating us. That's not fair." Well, it's only not fair because you weren't good enough tonight. So you should be more concerned that you're not good enough and and work harder at it. And that's I think where the game's got to now. Fighting wasn't part of something that I did as a player. I mean, I never had the. I always looked at it that way. I guess I always looked through it as, what did I do wrong, and why did I lose that battle? And I always looked at myself as the problem, not the other guy. And I think when you're in that category, I didn't have the mentality to go out and go whack somebody because I was pissed at them. It was like, no, I'm not good enough. I got to be better. But I like where the game is now. I think the game has come a long way. It's matured, and I really like the speed of the game. And there is a place for payback and retribution. I don't like the fact that when there's a good hit in the game, that someone's going to drop their gloves. Yeah. I mean, I played in the tougher eras and some of the toughest eras of the game through the 80s, and you get smoke coming through the neutral zone. You get back to the bench, and your teammates be going, "Hey, keep your head up. You're going to get killed in this league, man." But no, in today's game. You get hit with a good hit, it's like, oh, I'm going to go get him. It's like, well, maybe you should keep your head up next time. I'd like to see those fights get out of the game. I think that's because hitting is a great part of the game that I don't want to see leave, and I think that's a bigger problem. I think that's a bigger problem in the game. The hitting is disappearing more than the fighting. I mean, the old Boston Garden was fantastic. That was a small rink. You couldn't get out of the way of running into bodies and making great hits, and the boards would bend 12 feet and it gets the crowd going. You're not seeing that as much. And if you do, the pace is slow because someone's got to answer for catching a guy with his head down. So we'll see if that changes.
So that question was from Tim Forend, one of our fans in our chat room. And Dave, I want to tell you that we actually met before. I actually grew up in Wilmington, Massachusetts, where Restutia was, where you guys practiced. So I was 17, 18 years old, hanging out in Restutia, waiting for autographs from all you guys back in the early 90s. And I just want to thank you because you had some great teams in the early 90s, and you were one hell of a PK killer. So,
well, thanks. We did. I enjoyed my time in Boston tremendously. It was interesting when I left there in '96 to go to Dallas. My contract, I had asked for a 3-year contract from the Bruins, and we didn't want to leave. My children were born there, and we had great friends in the Boston area that we still do, and we absolutely love the area, my wife and I. And I was looking for a 3-year contract, and at the time, the Bruins only offered a 2-year contract. And that was their policy at that time. The older guys who were in their early 30s, they weren't giving an extra year to. And it's strange that in the third year was in 1999, I won my first cup, and 2 years later I won my second. So if I had accepted that 2-year deal, I don't know if I would have won the cups because I was well out of the league before the Bruins did. But I had a great time in Boston. I absolutely loved it, and I look back, it was a fantastic part of my life.
Yeah, okay, interesting. What was your one memorable moment in a Bruins uniform? Is there a game or a time?
Personally, it was probably I scored in Game 7 against Buffalo in the first round. Personally,
I remember that.
I was sent out on the ice by Rick Bowness with our coach, and it was a defensive zone face-off, and he sent me out, and he was like, once the puck gets out of the zone, change. And had been a crazy series. The games had gone back and forth, and
so was that the one where OT scored off the faceoff?
Yes, that was that series, and so I might even be in that game, and so we lose the draw, and I go out to my point in the left, the right defenseman on the left wing of our zone, and I block the shot, and the puck bounces like out to center in the old Boston Garden. It was a small rink, and I'm like, okay, well the puck's out, but I'm not changing because I got a breakaway. So I took off down the ice, and I didn't use a slap shot that much, but I took a slap shot and scored with about 5 minutes to go. I still have the picture from, I believe it was the Boston Globe, had the picture in the paper, and I got the photo framed. So for me, that was a pretty special moment. He was scoring a Game 7. That was pretty cool. And team-wise, it was probably the same year. We swept the Habs in 4, and I think it was the first time, I can't remember when, if it had happened, but we swept the Habs in 4, and we ended up losing to Pittsburgh in the conference final in 4. But that was, as a team, that was a really special moment. I mean, I think for the team, for the fans, for everybody who has gone through the Bruin-Habs rivalry, when you get an opportunity to sweep the Montreal Canadiens out of the playoffs, that's a pretty memorable moment. And for me, that was, we had a crazy team, just a crazy group of guys. The amount of players that we had gone through that year was in 1991, 92, and we had, I think, well over 55 guys. I think I came back into the team that year. It was just a crazy year of different bodies in and out. That was the Olympic year. We had gone through the Olympics. We got in, Joey Juneau had come in, Teddy Donato, Steve Hines, Clark Donatelli.
I was just going to say Clark,
Yeah, we also had Gord Hines on the back end, a defenseman from Team Canada. It was one of those years of the bodies that we went through. You look through the roster, that year was probably one of the most ever, and we made it to the conference final. But beating the Habs, sweeping Montreal in 4 was pretty special.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave Reid of NHL Network. You can watch Dave on NHL Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time throughout the season and Stanley Cup playoffs. Visit NHLnetwork.com for your local listings. Dave, I just want to thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Dave.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Good luck
Thank
to the
you very
Bruins.
much, Dave.
Appreciate it, Dave.
So, like I said again, that was Dave Reid of the NHL Network, and what an interview that was, huh, guys?
That was awesome. We started
Incredible.
a little shaky at the beginning, but we definitely recovered, so that was great.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. He gave some great answers. Great answers. Joe, you were in your glory there when we were talking about the 90s Bruins, huh?
Why you gotta pick on the old guy? It's just
I'm just saying, you just seemed like you were in your glory. You seemed like a little kid on Christmas.
Dude, I mean, like I told you, I used to, 17, 18 years old, used to hang out outside the Restucia Center, my buddy and I. We used to get all the autographs, and just imagine, dude, like going up to Cam Neely and Ray Bork and Adam Oates and getting all their autographs, and they were super nice. And then you had absolute a-holes like Carver Tolnoff and Sean McEachran. But, that happens. I mean, they all can't be nice. But Dave Reid was a nice guy. I mean, majority of them were. Andy Moog, who I told you guys broke my heart because I think he's a bastard because he broke my heart. But anyway, that was like we said, Jason was saying too that he was really getting into it. I think, being a retired player, you like your glory years. I remember that series in '93, and you guys were basically sparkles in your dad's eyes. When they beat Buffalo with, I think Tom Draper was the Buffalo goaltender. I was at the Garden for one of those games, actually, my buddy, and of course you guys weren't be able to go to the Garden, but the Garden used to have a lot of obstructive view seats. So I used to, my buddy and I used to just switch seats between periods, so one of us could see the corner, and then the other period we couldn't see the corner. So that was just the great stuff like that. But that's when hockey was real, gentlemen. Hockey's becoming kind of pussified. As much as I don't want to admit it.
It happens. But no, Joe, I think you want to bask in the glory about your Rask question. Dave gave a great answer. He even said, when you're sick, you're sick. He thinks Rask's still elite, and he thinks that the Bruins management trusts him. So I think you should be gloating right now.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with Rask, and like I said, we talked about Big Jim Murray mentioned this in '95. I talked to Jimmy Murphy. Big Jim Murray, and then Jimmy Murphy I talked to at Blogapalooza, and I think that Tuukka, it's like whoever comes after Tom Brady is not going to get a fair shake. This is the same thing that happened to Tuukka after Tim Thomas. And everybody gives Tuukka crap about 2010, but if we remember correctly, Thomas got hurt. Was Tuukka a first or second year player then? In 2010?
I believe so.
So right there, he wasn't even a seasoned guy. So, even if he had a bad series, as we all talked about, you got to remember, they lost your boy Krejci, Binky, so that kind of went down the toilet.
Well, no, I wouldn't even just say that. I was just like, Thomas was playing so bad that Rask stole his job.
Yes,
that's what it comes down to. And look, the next year Thomas did a great job of getting his job back. But let's not act like Tim Thomas was, Patrick Roy or Marty Brodeur out there. He had like you said, he had a great Stanley Cup Finals run, and I thank the world that he did. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch the Bruins win the Cup, and it was awesome to shove the Cup up in Vancouver's ass. In Vancouver, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. And people to this day even say, what championship was your best, was your favorite? And I always say 2004 Red Sox. I'm sorry, I know you're not a big baseball guy, Joe, but that was my favorite.
It was my favorite even still. 2004 Red Sox, hands down.
Yeah, but besides that, it's the Stanley Cup because I'm a hockey fan. I love it. I love hockey. And to see the Bruins win, so obviously I was in my glory watching Tim Thomas. But let's not act like you said he was all-world every single year because he wasn't. Because if Tim Thomas was the best thing since sliced bread, the Bruins would have more than one cup.
Guys, just look at Tim Thomas' playoff record here quickly. 07-08, losing 7 games. 08-09, they won 11 games, but they still did, they lost second round to Carolina, I believe. 2011, we all know what happened. 2012, they lose to Washington, and then he got in one game with Dallas. So was his playoff record that stellar, if you think about it? He had 1 year, and it was unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, I was a Thomas fan. It was unbelievable, but he had one season. Everybody's making out he's like Jerry Cheevers, or he was like, this guy's Kenny Dryden, or Patrick Roy, or Brodeur. Like, pump the effing brakes a little bit, guys, please. And if we put Thomas's stats in 11 against Tuukka in 13, minus the cup, of course, they're almost identical.
And can people say, oh, well, he hasn't won anything? They lost to a better team. Chicago's a wagon, and everyone knows that.
Chicago was better than Vancouver was.
Yes. The Bruins couldn't push Chicago around like they could push Vancouver around. Chicago was better, they had more skill. And Chicago also, won a cup before, too. So the Bruins and Chicago were battling for, there's another cup. But Chicago was damn good, and I think the better team won the series, and I'm sorry.
I mean, the games that he hasn't made it in, I don't know. If you're crapping your pants, how can you play net? I don't know, maybe. But the timing of things that happened for him are not good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he did it. You can't do it on purpose. It was just crappy luck, excuse the pun. But that Stanley Cup of Chowder article I mentioned to you guys before the show, that's on my Bruins, Big Bad Bruins page. You read that thing because it's all true. 13, they blame him for the Chicago Blackhawks meltdown. You know what? Without him, they wouldn't have beat Pittsburgh. He only left 2 goals the whole friggin' series, and they have 2 of the best players in the world on that team. That's unbelievable. Sidney Crosby did nothing that game. Absolutely zero.
They only scored 2 goals the whole series.
Who does that against Sidney Crosby and Malkin?
It was a 4-game sweep, but still, they were playing Pittsburgh, and everyone knows how good Pittsburgh is. That's not a fluke. But see, the thing that bothers me, Joe, is they'll be like, oh, it was the defense that did that. Oh, so the defense allowed Pittsburgh to only allow 2 goals, but the defense didn't. But it was Rask's fault for Chicago when the defense didn't cover their guys. Got it. That's how it works, Joe. You catching on now?
No, I think the thing too is I know his save percentage is going down the toilet lately and all this stuff. And if you guys have seen a pattern in the last 3 years, he plays very well at the beginning of the season. But what happens is when he has no backup to relieve him, he gets tired and he breaks down. He's breaking down.
That's not necessary. I used to want to blame Rask the first couple of years, but when it comes to this, it's a significant. What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't make management look good. It's the fact that we have no backup goaltender, and this is on management. You can't really blame Tuukka for his health going all the time. I still have my qualms about the pattern with Tuukka, but
everyone does a little bit. I do too. I'm a fan. But, I mean, we had one guy just in our chat room said, I love Rask, but the difference is Tim Thomas got it done. If you guys remember the Montreal series, they were one Zdeno Chara skate from losing that series. Okay? So that's how close that was. Okay? They blew out Philly. They did that. They blew them out. They only won 1-0. Dwayne Rolfson was giving them everything they could get against Tampa that year. Right? And I'm not discrediting it. He played out of his friggin' mind. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting it. You know what? I love Thomas. I never hated Thomas before he became, master crazy person. Going off the reservation after getting on about Chick-fil-A and Nazis and everything else. So that is the reason why I don't think Tuukka gets a good. Whoever comes after the great ones never gets a break. Whoever comes after Brady, like Garoppolo, will never be Brady. So it's one of those things, you know.
No, I definitely, and I agree with what Jason said too. I was talking to Jimmy Murphy, and I was talking to people, you know, at the event that you hosted last Saturday, Joe, at Blogapalooza, and they were saying, where would the Bruins be right now if they had a backup goalie that didn't only have one win up until, you know, recently?
Right.
Remember how bad in the show early on in the shows we were talking about how bad their backup goalie position was, where every time they started Hudobin they would lose, or every time McIntyre started they would lose, and Subban came up and he sucked. I mean, when Rask got hurt, the Bruins went on. Yeah, Rask got hurt, and remember they went on a skid there, and we were talking about, oh, geez, the people, everyone that says they trade Rask, now you see what it's like when Rask's not in the net.
You know, so, it's amazing. It's amazing. After that game, everybody's like Doby. Now I know Rask got a long shot from Bruin in the other night, but if I remember, Doby had almost a half ice shot beat him. So what are we talking about here?
You know what I mean? It's like you said earlier to Jason. Now you love Hags, but you don't agree with what he's saying.
No, Hags is kind of getting wishy-washy on this now because I think he was a Rask guy too. Now all of a sudden, I mean, I like Joe Haggerty, but like, come on, let's stick to your guns a little bit. Don't get me wrong. The timing of Tuukka getting hurt, you know, or sick or whatever, you know, is a little messed up. But I think Dave Reid made a good point. The Bruins don't want players like that. It's not, especially the most scrutinized position in sports is the NHL goalie, probably second behind the NFL quarterback. That's it. I mean, if you think about basketball, it's more of a team sport, and then baseball too. So the goalie and the quarterback are the two guys that get the most criticism if a team doesn't do well. Okay, which I find is unfair because guys drop passes, right? In the NFL, drop plenty of passes on them, and then in the NHL, your defense breaks down, people cough up the puck, and all that stuff. So those two positions absolutely get hammered more than anyone else. Absolutely.
Before we move on, I just want to say, as the Bruins playoff push is heating up, and boy, they're heating up now with how many teams are around them. SeatGeek is the smartest and easiest way to get tickets to every game. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing like being in the stadium to see the biggest plays of the year, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and as I said, it was the easiest way for me to buy tickets. I got tickets nice in the balcony against the New York Rangers when the Rangers were in town a few weeks back.
I'll be at the Stars game on Thursday.
Yep, but it's I'm telling you, and SeatGeek was great. I instantly found the seats. It was a great game against the Rangers, even though they lost. One was still in his head, but SeatGeek was designed to make ticket buying experiences easier than ever, and SeatGeek, trust me, it has. It saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sales sites, to compare prices and find amazing deals. And to get you the most bang for your buck, SeatGeek rates every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seats that fit your budget. Plus, every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. And it doesn't end with sports. SeatGeek also has plenty of concerts, comedies, and theater tickets available too. Best of all, for the listeners of this show, you can get a $20 rebate off your first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 off, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code. Enter promo code Bruins Beat. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, and like I said, enter promo code Bruins Beat today. And guys, I just want to say, this obviously the Bruins finally got a win. Seriously, he really shut me up this past week for the 2 goals in a big game. But where are the Bruins goal scorers? Where have they gone?
Oh, they're drying up, dude. It's bad.
Where have they gone? Marchand hasn't been, doing much. Krejci's, Pasta, Bergeron. I was listening to, on the way home, I was listening to the radio, and I heard a stat, and I literally almost drove off the road. I was so surprised by it. The Bruins' top 3 lines don't have a even strength goal in the past 3 or 4 games.
That smells a lot like the Claude days.
It does, and it's what is going on? They're not producing anymore. Where are they all gone? Marchand dried up, like you said. Pastrnak's dried up. I don't know what's going on.
They don't have much time to get this figured out. So
no, they need these guys to start producing again. Like you said, Riley Nash. Riley Nash has their last 3 even strength goals. Nash.
You know what they need? You know what they need, Mike and Jason? Here's the thing, and they made a good point about Felger. As much as people hate Felger, I think he knows his hockey. David Backes. I like David Backes, but he hasn't brought much of anything. You know, I thought he'd be that. Hopefully he can be this vocal guy in the locker room because they need somebody. Because Bergey's not that guy and Char's not that guy. I think Marshall could be, but I don't know. I mean, they need somebody to really, really get this team going here, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do. They need it bad, and I think this is the past 3 years. If the Bruins don't make the playoffs, it is. I mean, there's still 2 weeks left, but if they don't, I think you can look back on those Stanley Cup teams and look at some of the vocal guys they had, like Sean Thornton and Andy Ferentz and Boychuk and Lucic, guys. As those guys that were the emotional leaders, but Bergeron and Chara were the guys you looked at as the leaders by example type. And they lead by example. And I feel like they got rid of all the guys, like the vocal guys that were in the locker room. They never replaced them. They just let them all walk, and they just tried to fill the voids and tried to build the core around some of the guys they thought were the core. But sometimes you need some of those intangibles. And like you said, Backes was supposed to be brought in to be that guy, but what has he really been doing lately?
I know. Here's the thing. They got,
And I don't mean to crap on Backes. I do like him.
No. Hey, no, it's merited. I mean, there's games you notice him, right? There's games he brings his presence, but majority they don't. I mean, I don't care if he scored – he's almost, 17, 16 goals? I don't care if he scored 10 goals, but he's really getting the guys riled up and getting in their face and getting pissed off. Because that dude is a competitor. There's no doubt about it. If he's Olympic years in St. Louis and all this stuff. But, at the end of the day, Jason and Mike, they got how many games left? 8 games? I feel they got to win at least 6 of them.
And 7 are at home. 7.
When Dave said the games at home, but you think about it, I know they had a nice run with Cassie, but they're still not great at home, period. You know what I mean? They're just not. So I'm hoping they turn this around. I mean, Nashville's doing us a favor right now, thank God. Hopefully they can hold on and beat the Islanders because that'll be huge. But then he made a good point. Tampa's creeping up. Carolina's hanging around. The damn Hartford Whalers. They're hanging around.
You know what the good thing about that, too? Is the Bruins play Nashville tomorrow. So no excuse. No excuse.
Mike, well, this team, everything is an excuse, it seems. So I don't feel 100% confident they can because they have a night off. Like Dallas is just not a good team. They should beat them, but it doesn't mean they're gonna. I mean,
and then Florida Saturday, they should beat them too.
The only 2 teams. I mean, I would say 3 because I think Ottawa owns them this year. So right now, 5 or 3 at the worst, they should go. The worst.
Yeah, they have Nashville's a playoff team, Chicago's a playoff team. Ottawa's a playoff team, and the Capitals are a playoff team.
The Capitals probably won't play anybody. The last game.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is maybe the Capitals might hold out some of their guys, like Braden Holtby, who owns the Bruins' ass every time they play.
Oh yeah, that's a bad. That smells for me because I think the playoffs will probably start the Tuesday. I would say.
Probably that Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that's definitely a game he sits, which would be huge for the Bruins. But then even the Blackhawks game in the second, they might be going for. I don't know if anyone's even close to them in the West, but the thing that sucks, guys,
is that the Blackhawks will still play on Sunday. It's too early to close them down, shut them down for the year.
Well, the thing that sucks is we got to hope that people rest people. That's kind of scary. So let's just hope things hold on. So are we going to do predictions?
I don't think they're going to sit anyone. I don't think they're going to sit anyone on Sunday, though.
I hope not. It's always weird. They always have that one-off game in Chicago. It's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then they had the same thing last year, too. Remember? Then they got blown out in the first period, and the second period they made it interesting, but they still ended up getting blown out.
Then I remember 3 years ago, they blew out the Blackhawks. It's weird how those teams play each other. It's like ebb and flow. It's kind of funny. I mean, a game in Boston, which I was at, and everybody got to see my face of depression live on Facebook Live. I mean, it was 1-0, but it was just the feeling in that house. Everybody knew they were going to lose. I mean, you just felt it. It was just. You could cut the tension with the knife.
Just so you know, we have 7 games left, not 8.
Or like I said, we have 6 games left. No, 7 games left. They all seem to blur together now, don't they, guys? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we've been depressed recently, so I mean, I don't know what. I mean, we're kind of losing track of the games, but thanks for the correction, Jason.
Sorry.
I don't know. You know what, Jason? No, just brush the balls, Jason. It was great meeting you and your lady friend. One of many, it sounds like, because you are a Casanova. As Mike is much of a lover to the computers, you are a lover to the women.
Yeah, I know Lindsay had fun. Yeah, shout out to Lindsay. She'll listen to this today.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
But no, can we just find the Bruins goal scorers again? when they first brought in Cat, I actually was listening, reading something, I forget what it was, but they were saying, the Bruins are starting to suck again. Might as well fire the coach and get a spark out of them again. Well, they still can't, because when they fired Julian and went to Cassidy, they obviously started ripping off some wins.
Well, you look at the Canadians; they're not running away. I mean, Senators are right on their tail. I mean, you know what I mean?
They just beat the Senators again, though. They just beat them again. Yeah,
they did beat them. Yeah, they did. They kind of own them like the Senators own the Bruins this year. And this is like finally the first year the Bruins played Montreal pretty good. I think they split, and they can't get out of their own way. So it's one of those years. But it's put up. It's not up or shut up, gentlemen. This is it. By next week, they could be done. if they crap.
I know. It was. I actually never even realized when until Dave Reid said it. What the hell is Carolina doing? They're so close to the top of the wild cards position.
They're tied right now, and Lightning just tied up the Blackhawks. They were down by 2 like 3 seconds ago.
So there you go. I mean, you look at it, right? The Bruins, since that 4-game losing streak, remember how I said the last few shows the Bruins are getting a little bit of separation? Now they haven't, because they went on a 4-game losing streak.
Guys, how bad?
The Leafs are at 85. The Bruins are at 84. The Islanders are at 82. Tampa's at 81. Carolina's now at 79. If Carolina wins, they're going to be at 81 too.
I don't want to think about it.
Before we end the show, because I've been hearing this all weekend, so I'm going to switch the topic a bit. I want to talk about McAvoy, because I've been hearing McAvoy's name all weekend.
Oh yeah, because BU lost. That's probably why.
Yeah, you think the Bruins are going to put him in the lineup?
To be honest, I don't want the Bruins to put him in the lineup. As much as I think McAvoy's going to be good. I think he has the chance to be great. I can't wait to see him just as much as everyone else wants to see him. But when we had Mark on a few episodes ago, and we talked about this, Bruins fans got to pump the brakes with McAvoy.
Oh, he's
really seriously. He had a great World Junior Championships, and obviously it got all Bruins fans hot and bothered and excited, which you should be. You should be excited. But like Joe just said, he's not going to come in and be Bobby Orr in his first year. He's not going to step into the lineup tomorrow and be, Bobby Orr or, Ray Bork. Give the kid some time. He's still young. He'll grow into the role. He's not going to be a savior. Please, Bruins fans, don't look at Charlie McAvoy as some God sent from the heavens to save the Bruins season, because it's not going to happen. What I want, Jason, personally, is I want McAvoy to sign, go to Providence for a couple games, get his feet underneath him during the pro system, and then start next year and make the team pretty much what Carlo did. That's what I want. Carlo signed last year, went to Providence for a few games, and made the team out of camp. That's what I want from McAvoy.
That's what I would do too.
Yeah, take your time. With JFK coming out. Just this year, I just say run it with the guys you got. Let's see who's good, who's not, and then just start cleaning house and cutting off the absolute worthless piece of driftwood like Jimmy Hayes.
Like you said, see what they got, and then trim off the fat. Trim off the guys that, okay, you played it out this year, third year in a row. If you make the playoffs, so you don't. If you make the playoffs, good. If you don't make the playoffs, third year in a row. Now you evaluated all these players. Now you have the young guys coming up, seeing which young guys can play, which young guys can't. That's when you, like you said, in the offseason when you do it. Don't worry about it now. Just worry about it in the offseason.
So if they cut Jimmy Hayes, who are you going to name your Wi-Fi after?
Riley Nash.
No, he scores. We're going to call it the Bolesky. The Bolesky.
Kevin Miller.
Oh, God.
Even Miller scored.
I wonder who's going to go to Vegas now. That Vegas is going to become a sports mecca with the Raiders and Golden Knights.
Oh, that's another thing I kind of want to have a pick at, too. Is aren't they not releasing the players that the Bruins are, like, not just the Bruins, but when they're doing that draft, they're not letting the names released of the players that the teams protect?
Like, what the heck? Soon.
No, I guess they're not releasing them anymore. So that way, it's like when you watch the draft for the Vegas team, that it's all completely by surprise.
Oh, that sounds really like just as good as the whole unveiling of their logo went. Yeah, that's gonna go well.
Yeah,
that was a debacle. The feed went down and everything. That was so bad. Their logo absolutely blows. So whoever I think by 3.5 years
I think their team name's even underwhelming. Like Golden Knights. Like you couldn't have did something a lot clever or something that had to do associate with the city at all.
I think they had to buy someone out too. I think it's one of the branches of the military is called the Golden Knights too, and I think they had to buy them, pay them off or something to use the name. I know they could have done so much more with Vegas how many Knights live in Vegas? I would say 0.
Well, not even just that. You could have done something cool, like the Las Vegas Gamblers, or like the Las Vegas Jokers, or something like
the Las Vegas Prostitutes.
Yeah. But they could have just did something way cooler. Like I would have been so I was so underwhelmed.
They call slot machines one-arm bandits. I think that would be like the coolest name ever. You know what I mean?
The one-arm bandits?
That's what they call slot machines. Yeah, for us old people.
Yeah, but you know how people get mad about like the Redskins name? You would have had people with one arm.
Yeah, people with one arm would have got pissed off. I agree. I'm sorry for the people with one arm, the Luke Skywalkers and Darth Vaders out there. I know you have one arm. I apologize to offend you.
Yeah,
I know we live in the world of offending people.
Yes, that's the thing. We live in a world now where you offend people more easily than you would in the past, so you can't say these things anymore, Joe.
You know, because everybody gets a trophy, Mike. Everybody gets a damn trophy.
Participation awards.
Well, I think your computer needs a participation award because it's participate today, which is wonderful.
Did I not? It's because we just said an Italian prayer before the show. For people that weren't listening then or like weren't around them before the show. So I got a new computer because obviously everyone knows that's been listening to the show. My computer stinks. So, but I was having an issue with Skype on my other computer, so I was like, "Oh crap! I gotta go to the Jimmy Hayes Wi-Fi one," and Joe and I, nice little Italian last name, that's Sedapani, very Italian. Sedapani. We did a nice little Italian
ravioli.
Nice little Italian prayer. It worked out wonders. It's been great. It's been almost an hour. It's been almost an hour and no issues, huh?
I know it's unbelievable. I just
want to record next week's show now too while we're at it. No, I'm just kidding.
You're crazy.
See how the week goes.
We gotta see how the two old men, me and Joe, need to go to bed at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I'm keeping you guys
Slow your roll, Rumpelstiltskin. I don't need to go to bed yet. You're the one with all the ladies. You're the one with all the ladies. You gotta rest the loins.
But can I before we do some predictions, can I just touch on one thing the Bruins do that I think is absolutely fabulous?
Ice girls? Oh, they're gone.
No, it's the cuts to the cost, and they do it with Kutcher and Ritz. They raised $101,000 for kids battling cancer, and I just want to commend the Bruins. Not all of them, but majority of them shave their heads, or if not, they donate money to charity. And I just think that probably not. But but I just want to commend the Bruins for even holding that event and doing it because obviously everyone that we know or someone has been affected by cancer. Even Joe has been affected by cancer, so 101K, absolutely fantastic by the Bruins, and I think just goes to show. I think hockey players are the best athletes in the world about giving money and time to charity. So, just hats off to them again. But guys, Tuukka Rask seems to be back for tomorrow. Well, we have 4 games this week. 4. Wow.
Geez. Here we go.
3 are at home, 1's on the road. We got.
I gotta ask you guys one question before we jump into that. What was your? Give me one word to describe that Tampa game the other night.
I was at work.
Good thing you didn't see it. I was at a concert where they actually pulled a fire alarm in the middle of the show, which is probably better than watching that game. So they can't. If they have one more of those games, they're toast. I swear they're done. I mean, I can't. I'm
not kidding. I'm not kidding, Joe. I was watching the game. And I had my arms folded and just a look of disgust on my face. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
You had the Italian shame face on? Shame.
Yeah, I was just like, I had my face was full of disgust. That's what I would say. My one word's disgust.
Michael, you didn't eat your ravioli. I'm disgusted and ashamed of you.
Yeah, you don't like my sauce?
You don't like the sauce? I'm part Italian, so I can kind of have a 1/4 of me has a crappy accent. So my grandmother's is from Italy. Her last name is De Rosa, so you can't get any more.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
But I talk with my hands, Mike.
I talk with my yeah. Everyone talks with their hands though. Everyone. they say it's a big Italian thing, but if you notice it, everyone talks with their hands.
Yeah, everybody does. We're just better looking doing it. Ooh,
yeah,
it's true, Joe. I'm on your side on that one because I'm Italian.
Bucks.
All right,
Bucks. We're gonna call Jason the Bucks now. The Bucks. Well, the ladies, the Bucks. Gosh. Okay, let's do predictions because we all
right.
Who wants to go last week?
I do not volunteer as tribute to go first.
Right. So we all sucked last week, right?
They have
You were all bad.
Predators tomorrow, Stars Thursday, Panthers Saturday, Blackhawks Sunday. I'm gonna say 2-2.
I'm gonna go 1-1 for y'all because that's how I feel. Nashville, you're gonna lose because I just feel it. I don't know why I feel it because everything's against Nashville, but they'll find a way to win. Dallas, I just think that team is a joke, and Tyler Seguin, anytime he can lose again, it's fine with me. Florida, I think they'll have nothing to play for. And the Bruins always play Chicago tough. I think. God, did I just say 3-1?
Yeah, you did.
I did. Wow.
And I'm gonna say 2-2. I'm gonna say they lose to Nashville tomorrow too, and I'm gonna say they lose to Chicago, and they're gonna beat the Stars, and they're gonna beat the Panthers because the Bruins always seem to play well against the Panthers. I don't know why, they just do. So that's what I'm going with.
All right, here's what I'm going with. They beat Nashville.
They beat Pittsburgh 7-0.
They beat Nashville because they're on 2 days of rest.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Dallas because I'm going to be there with a pretty little lady named Lauren. They beat Florida because of the matchup.
The Buckley Plumbing Service.
And and they beat Chicago.
You going 4-0?
Yeah.
The hell are you on drugs?
Yes.
You know what? Jason gets about 12 or 14 ladies in his life, and he gets all...
No, that's like highly exaggerated there, Joe. It's maybe like 2 or 3, but it's not 14.
I don't know. Every time I talk, there's a new lady. Like I said, I didn't know the Blog of Blues was the prom. Hope you got a nice corsage.
All right, so can we just establish that I want whatever Jason's smoking for the Bruins to go 4-0 this week?
3-1, baby.
I'm probably
So
going to be
you
wrong,
guys,
but I got nothing to
you
lose.
guys are. Have you guys seen them go last week? They went 1-4 in their last 5 games. And
Yeah,
you got Sunshine and Roses Jason over there saying 4-0, and then you got Joe not far behind him saying 3-1. What is with you guys?
I'm old.
Well, remember last year, the year before that, Mike, when I was like, "Oh, the Bruins should start losing." I think we reversed roles here.
I don't want them to lose. I'm just trying to be realistic here.
I'm realistic and I'm psychotic.
Hey guys, I want to run a little idea by you guys. So, you know bubble hockey, right?
Yes.
I think we need to have a Bruins Beat Big Bad Bruins, maybe Black and Gold podcast tournament.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Where I'm going with this, maybe get the fans involved. We might have to have a little, what they call a soiree. I think we have to talk about this. So if you guys, anyone in the chat that's local that may be interested in this, Bad Larry, let me know. But I think we might.
I say we challenge the Black and Gold Hockey Boys with NHL 17 tournament on PS4.
Dude, last hockey I played was on Nintendo. Now come on, guys, can we do something I can do? I know how to use the sticks.
All right, well, we have to accommodate the older people, so we'll do bubble hockey.
I'll have my oxygen tank with me.
All right, great. That's great to hear. But once again, we want to just give a special thanks to Dave Reid from NHL Network for joining us. You can, as I said, you can follow him on NHL Network 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time all throughout the playoffs. He was a fantastic guest. I'm happy to have him on. Hope to have him on again soon, actually, because that was fantastic.
Yeah,
obviously, Joe was getting lathered up and getting all excited when he was talking about the '90s Bruins. So we'll have to do that.
I had my
again
pants
soon.
off. Only half the interview.
Yeah. But no, that will wrap up our episode. You can follow myself on Twitter at Mike's22. Joe is at Big Bad Bruins 88, and Jason's at Jason Buckley 91. You can follow our personal account at Bruins_beat. You can also like us on Facebook, and you can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher, right, Jason?
Yes, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on the iTunes at Boston Bruins Beat Podcast. For those that are listening live still, I am going to release this show tomorrow afternoon. I'll be editing it tonight, releasing it tomorrow afternoon.
Hells yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So we'll be back next week. Go Bruins.
Go Bruins.
It, baby. Let's do it.